Hey guys, Kid here of Burn 1 with one of our first ever match analysis videos. So these videos are just going to be match videos where we kind of pick it apart and talk about everything going on in the match a little bit more in depth than commentary videos. And for those that aren't aware, our Patreon supporters actually have access to this. They're able to send over like once a month, send a match video to us that we will use in a match analysis video just like this. And then they'll have access to it, and then it'll be posted on our channel sometime later. So let's just jump into the video. Okay, so getting straight into the match here. So I mean, some of you probably already seen this match video, but just so you're made aware that it's AoT versus Love Live Sunshine English format, of course, which makes it a little bit different since Sunshine is a bit different in English compared to JP. So first thing here to point out is that Tyler here discarded 3 cards here. This is something that doesn't get, I don't think a lot of people bring this up very often, but depending on how your opponent discards will tell you exactly what's in their hand. So the fact that he discarded 3 and didn't go for the full 5 or even 4 indicates to me that his opening hand has a wind trigger in it already. And because normally people who don't open up wind trigger in this deck tend to just discard 5 to find the wind trigger, because the most important part for AoT is that the wind trigger is what you're looking for, because there's no way to search that out. You have to naturally draw into it, whereas the set has Krista level 0, then Salvage the level 1s, as well as like Brainstormers that search, and 1-0 events that can find the errands if need be. But yeah, so just continue from here. We're probably going to be skipping around too a little bit as the match goes on. And see here. So I'm on the play here, easy clock here. So here's something here that doesn't get brought up often either in the matchup. So AoT has a really strong opening hand usually. They have access to Mill Runner 3/5 that runs the center, and a level 0 Krista that salvages cards, as well as a Brainstormer that gives power to center. One of the ways to combat this when going first here, as you can see, is I actually put the runner I have in the center lane instead of on the side lanes. It's pretty often that people are told when they first start out the game, you want to put a character on the side lane, because if you put a big character in the center, if your opponent has like a utility card but has back row supports, for example, like this Brainstorm down here, if you had that, that's an extra 1,000 pump to center. Whereas if you put it on the side lanes, it's a little harder to get extra power. Usually you can only get like 500 power that in one of the side lanes extra, especially in your early turns, making it a little bit harder to fight oversized stuff. But in this matchup specifically, we're looking to always put our characters in the center slot, especially if you're going first, because one of the best cards AoT has for its opening is the 3/5 Armin Runner. So it's, if you're not aware, it's 3/5 with like a non-conditional, basically, if you have 5 or more cards in hand, I think it is, which they always do. But the big thing here is that it can only run to the center slot right here. So by contesting the center slot really early with this runner here, I can force AoT players to either put their Armin Runner here or put something here that blocks this lane. And so if they want to do a double attack here, they'd have to put like Armin over here and another character here to fight this. And if this Yo runs away, then I just plus really hard here, because now their Armin Runner can't run. And if they don't put a runner in the center right here to possibly open up the slot next turn, the Armin can't run to the center, and then they lose this card as well. So I get a, basically by putting this card in the center, I 2-for-1 them in a certain sense. So yeah, this is a really powerful move. And of course, we play Mill Runner, so we're going to put the back row Kanan out there. And also, as well as if I'm trying to look for a Climax early on, it's just good to have. So yeah, see here, I go for the Mill Run here, and then see, this is the exact situation I was looking for. Preferably, I wish there wouldn't be like a runner right here, but I mean, this is like the best possible outcome for me that I could actually have, is because the AoT player is looking to be a little bit more aggressive, to push me a little bit harder. So they're going to be wanting to get rid of my runner to try to force a trade or something, just in case if I whiff. And And then if they do want to go for like the double attack or anything like that, usually the other card they run as a 4 of is Armin, so usually Armin's their other early play beater. So by doing this, I've now locked Armin in place. If I don't draw the level 0 anti-runner, then I lock Armin in place, especially if they whiff right here. I think we'll just go ahead and kind of increase speed here a little bit, since, you know, this has already been matched from before. So the interesting scenario here is that the AoT player now has Mikasa runner, so they have to mill possibly to open up that slot. But usually, unlike other mill runners, this deck runs 4 events along with its 8 climaxes, making 12 whiffs possible in the deck. So it's not much more than normal, but there's a chance that the Mikasa can whiff its run and get stuck there, and then the Armin gets stuck as well, which is always something you want to try to plan out here. See, like right there, like I said, they milled an event, which is more likely to happen just because you're running the event, or more likely to whiff the mill run because you run events. Unlike other mill runners that usually are in decks that don't have events, or the only whiffs they have are climaxes. So this is really good for me. So I put the Yo in the center here to fight this, because no matter what lane I put this in, we're going to trade, and I'm kind of forced into putting the anti-runner on Armin here, just because that if this succeeds, I can still kill it in either of these lanes, because I can either bump this up by 2-5 and trade with it, or if it whiffs, it runs into my Yo. Whereas this is, I can always trade if I want to. If he fails run here, I'm able to pump the anti-runner Yo to 4K and trade here in my favor, basically. The only downside to all of this here is the fact that I leave more stuff on the board. So if he whiffs run here, at least I get to trade this and open up this lane, making it so my opponent's forced to triple Armin if they want to get 2 Armins off if they get stuck to 1 after this turn. And then I'm going to get 3 stock off of this with my Yo level 0, which means I get access to my waiting room to get stuff back. And this is a matchup where the Chica level 1 combo isn't really going to do much unless I get hit 1 to first. So we'll just continue here. Run it in, reverse the character. So that little pause right there, I was contemplating whether to give my opponent a +1 and possibly leave them at level 0 still. But looking at their clock, and I think I've only saw 1 Krista so far at this point from their waiting room. They're going to be at 0-5 the next turn. So even if I pass here, they could clock, draw 2, then Krista for a level 1, and then Climax combo. So there was like, in my opinion, there was like no point in, you know, missing an opportunity just to at least reverse something, prevent a +1, and just get extra damage in. And if this doesn't stick and they happen to not have the Krista, then, you know, it's all Gucci from there. So yeah, this takes a little bit of a while because I'm trying to decide if I really... one of the big things right there on deciding on using the Yo, in the end, of course, I did go for the Yo because I'm just going to go for my game plan, and which is my general game plan is get the early level 3s out. AoT doesn't have a lot of stuff going on for itself at level 2, and if I just play around like the anti-change counter and stuff, I don't really care. I get extra attacks basically. You have a lot of deck manipulation as Sunshine, so it's like a really powerful move. I don't know why it took so long to think about that. It's mostly I was considering playing the compression game. Sunshine has a really good compression game if it kind of falls out of the early play level 3 strategy. So sometimes Sunshine can like just build a lot of clean stock and force good refreshes because of Ruby level 1. So yeah, here, this is the reason why you would totally consider passing the last turn on the last attack, just on the off chance that my opponent gets stuck at 0-6 here, just because forcing them to pass a turn is pretty powerful. Even if I don't know what's in their hand, sometimes just just forcing them into awkward positions like this really hurts them. The downside to this here is that I am going to be level 1 second, which is not always ideal for Sunshine. But luckily in this matchup, the Chica bombs, Chica 1 versus don't matter here. I'm trying to play a level 1 at level 0. Just not used to being in like that position too often. So we'll just kind of skip ahead here. Have a lot of, just kind of thinking about how aggressive I want to be here, because I know due to the way he discarded earlier, I already know that he has the level 1 wind in his hand. I just don't know how set up he is for playing everything here. And the decision I made here as far as this goes, if there's an off chance of, let's see, so yeah, let's see, go here, I play the I play the Climax, because on the off chance that I made a bad read, and he doesn't have any of the wind triggers in his hand, this is a really good opportunity to force big damage through, because his board is completely wiped, and either he's going to take 3 or he's going to cancel, and there's a good chance that if he's not holding on to a wind trigger already, if he cancels wind triggers out of his deck, it makes it a lot harder for him to combo off at 1. And if he doesn't combo off at 1, it makes my Chica combo just that much better, because I can actually get reverses now if need be. But you know, as if you've seen this match already, we already know that he does have the level 1 combo. So we'll kind of skip ahead here. There's not much going on here. I guess one thing to note too is the back row. We go ahead and slam 2 Kanon in the back row. I forgot to mention is because the big game plan here is we want to save our Brainstormer here. And I just felt like putting the Brainstormer out in here just in case. So we play 2 Kanon in the back row just to get like the double scry off of our character dying. That way we can manipulate our deck and possibly draw into our combo or draw into key pieces at 1 here. It didn't really matter whether the Kanon was in the front row or not, but for whatever reason this time I just decided to put them in the back row just in case if I don't want to use them. So yeah, after that, we push a lot of damage, which is really good for us. And then he's going to use his maneuver gears to try to find pieces for himself, which is, you know, ideally what AoT wants to do anyway. And of course get more maneuver gears into the waiting room here. So unfortunately for my opponent, when situations like this happen, you get like I don't want to say the god play, because I don't think this is a very good position to be in all the time, but triple Aaron is going to get off here. And so at this point, like I said earlier, we're kind of forfeiting being able to fight our level 1 game. So we're just going to be playing avoid dealing with Aaron here. Did I say Armin? But yeah, Aaron. And just giving him the pluses, because we can manipulate our opponent's hand to be a low quality hand for a big chunk of the game, which makes it kind of tough for AoT players sometimes, especially if they're not used to running it, and especially because as you see, the AoT player does not have any Brainstorm in the back row unless he's holding on to one. I've already seen 2 go to waiting room, and usually AoT lists run 3 to 4, and because I just know Ty, I'm pretty sure he runs I want to say 4, unless he changes his list a lot. But the whole idea in this matchup is you make really bad trades, especially if Sunshine gets to 1 first. So you always want to Brainstorm in this matchup. And unfortunately for him here, he discarded his Brainstorm early and never got another one. I probably would have been pretty impressed if he just went for double Armin and got a Brainstorm in the back row off of the 1-0 event maneuver gear. But I think in this position he's thinking he's going to be able to use maneuver gear on the defensive. And as you see as this game continues, that I don't allow that at all to manipulate his hand of being low quality. So nothing surprise here. We just go through. He gets the triple reverse here. This is where we save. We top check here. So this was an interesting scenario I was in. This card here is a gate. So there's two things that can happen here. I've already decided that my main game plan here is to side attack his level 1 game because two reasons. One, I know he runs the 3-2 early play Mikasa that requires this level 1 in clock. So by not letting it go back to his hand, I deny him the opportunity of playing that level 3 early, which is that level 3 early is can be really impactful, especially if you get the triple off, you save 2 of these, clock 1 of them, and then play, and you don't have another win trigger. Because usually when you do play that early play, you've just refreshed, because usually you're refreshing around 1-6 early level 2s, right? And so that Mikasa lets you play 2 of these down the next turn, and then play the Mikasa in the 3rd slot, and then top check 5 to try to find another win trigger if you don't draw into it. And getting back-to-back win triggers after being able to use the maneuver gear is a really powerful move in setting up hand and thinning out your deck, which is a bit spooky. It's something I want to avoid at all costs usually, because I think if people get that off, especially because they're playing the early player, it really hurts your chances of winning the game. So yeah, and then here, like I said, forgot to go into it because over here, but like I said, I was looking at the top check off of the con that was here. I saw a gate, which is pretty good. I want to draw the gate because I'm thinking of siding, but I end up deciding here, looking through my waiting room and stuff like that, I really would rather prefer to have a stock soul just to gain the extra stock advantage, and then set up a cancel for later in the game. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and move that gate to the bottom of the deck, because I can always move another card to the bottom of the deck by saving the Kanon just like that, and I can decide to leave it there or not. I forget what this card was. I couldn't really see it off the video. I just know it's a character, so I moved it to the bottom. That way, when I cancel it, goes back into the deck. I believe, I think it was a level 3, so I was hoping to set it up so my 1-0 Mari, if it comes down to it, gets reversed. Maybe the last card of my deck will bounce it back to my hand. But yeah, one of the big strong points of Live Life Sunshine is the fact that deck manipulation there, the set has so much good deck manipulation that if you're not abusing that and you're just only playing the set for the early plays, you're probably playing the deck incorrectly. There's a lot of games where I just manipulate my deck enough to put like 2 to 3 climaxes at the bottom of my deck and force like triple cancels, force double cancels out, because this is a set that is being you're pushing aggressively as possible. You have a really good level 1 combo that can force really good trades in your favor, especially if you hit 1 first and you open up lanes for the backswing again, which is insanely powerful, as well as it denies one of the better sets in the currently, which is AoT. So having AoT have to make the trade with the level 1 Chica to be able to do its combo is really powerful, because you're basically negging them 1. On top of that, the set doesn't really want to play healers because it's looking just to play aggressive all the time. So being able to manipulate your deck and put climaxes wherever you want, or brainstorm whenever you want to hit, makes it really powerful, because you win through the tempo of canceling instead of winning through like healing. So you get tempo from canceling that you set up, and you also get tempo from extra attacks you start getting at level 2, which is pretty powerful. And then all the deck manipulation as well gives you access to really good brainstorms. So this is a brainstorm not a lot of people run. I don't know why. It's a really good brainstorm, especially if you're playing Chica level 1 combo, because you have more selectivity. I can understand if you're playing the 2-soul combo why you don't want to run this, but even then, I'm like, why not? This is such a powerful brainstorm. The fact that triggering a climax gives 2k power somewhere makes it so like sometimes your 4k Chicas are suddenly 6k Chicas that can kill climax combos that lose power after they do the climax combo. But yeah, let's continue from here. All right, so here we're doing some deck checking here, trying to make decent decisions here. We move that to the bottom, or maybe the last card wasn't a level 3. Maybe that was the level 3 there. So move this to the back row here. So yeah, so the main game plan here is we're just looking to side. Luckily for us, we played triple color level 1 game. So we don't really care that much that we took all this damage here, because now we can play all our colors. And see right here, we go ahead and play the Ruby level 1, because we want to get down to a position where our deck can give us the cancels that we want. And of course, we're also looking for pieces to finish out our level 2 early play stuff. See, I'll skip ahead a little bit here. Oh yeah, see, I don't know if anyone noticed here, but I got the stock soul off of my clock draw. That's why, moving the Climax to the bottom of my deck, I decided, I'd rather use the cancel off of this gate and hopefully draw the stock soul that's still in my deck when I did check the waiting room earlier. Getting the stock soul instead of the gate is pretty powerful because I've already made the decision that I'm going to side attack. I'm going to side attack all of these because there's no reason for me to put him back into his hand. So getting the stock soul is just infinitely better than because I'm going to get an extra stock that turn to build a little bit more compression. And the way I've milled the deck out, I'm going to end in this first deck with a good amount of clock here, which means this is more damage that's not going back in. And then this takes another card out of my waiting room, so my refresh just is really, really solid. I'll skip it here a little bit. Yeah, unfortunate for the AoT player here, they ended up having their last Climax be the bottom of their deck, which is tough. So this position here feels kind of bad for me if, he draws into another wind trigger, because these are just all targets here that Armin can kind of feed themselves off of. And because I didn't force him to use the maneuver gears, he still has 3 maneuver gears in his hand. So if he main phased maneuver gear and drew the Climax, I would feel really, really crappy right now. Because he'll end up with the same amount of hand. But hopefully here he, I'm just, if he doesn't draw into it, it feels good. And as well as, he only refreshed with possibly 3, right? Because 1 was his last cancel here. So I feel like I'm in a good position, but I mean, the way to get punished after doing this is usually back-to-back level 1 Aaron combo. That's why another reason I'm very afraid of early play Mikasa that top checks. Another thing about siding there too is that on offense, or on defense, I mean, that's when the optimal time is to use the maneuver gear, because you save a card as well as thin your deck out, and you don't necessarily lose a lot of cards in between. By preventing this stuff going back into his hand, I force his hand to be 3 maneuver gears and like 3 other random cards that don't feel as powerful. And if the 1-0 Armin, if the 1-0 Aaron's aren't in his hand, he can't use those to pitch those Aaron's out of his hand to get like better playable cards, basically. So yeah, so I'm in a really good position here. It's really good actually too here. Like I said, level 1 reversers against AoT, it just feels so good because we open up lanes where we can get, like, this lane's going to be open now next turn. So I can play crappy cards like Kanon and stuff in the front row if I want to get, like, an extra soul against this here because I don't have to defend it. This is a lane I don't have to worry about power or anything in, and I won't have to defend this lane the following turn anyway. It also opens it up because if I'm afraid that the AoT player has anti-early play counters in his deck, having an open slot to swing into makes it easier than having to do like a triple side attack just to play around the counter. So now that I have this open lane here, it makes it easier for me to get good numbers and damage out. This is why the Chica level 1 combo is like one of my favorite combos for Sunshine instead of the 2 soul. 2 soul feels a little bit more coin flippy to me, whereas this is adds a lot of consistency for you. But yeah. All right, take that 3 damage and then a refresh. We'll just kind of move along here. So at this point, my hand's already set up just because of how the game played out. I refreshed too. If you didn't notice, actually, we'll just go back really quick. My clock 2 was very, very good position for this refresh. If you notice here, I have the Yo level 3 in here, which is really, really good. I have the Chica level 3 in here, which usually you want that in your hand or in your deck because, flipping level 3s off of the early play Yo is really good. But the fact that this is in the waiting room makes it so my support, you can see already here, I already have one. But if I play the support, the 2-1 Rico support onto the field and I top check a level 3, I can get this one back. I can get the Chica one back and double early play Yo level 3, which is really powerful. All right, we'll skip a little bit ahead here. So yeah, you see here how having that open lane right here is just so powerful, just because I can do things like this where I can put this in here, get it to, now it's a 2-soul beater basically. I also got off of this 1-0 Mari that he did bounce to my hand the last turn. I get a top check here to confirm things for my Yo early play, which is really, really powerful. So like this entire setup just feels so good right now. And of course, we're still playing the same strategy here. We'll go ahead and start this. Same strategy here is we'd rather have these on board than in his hand, these 1-0 errands. So we're just going to side attack here because we're also still afraid of him possibly having the 2-1 counter. And like I said, it's most beneficial for AoT to use their maneuver gears during their defensive turn. So when they're getting attacked into, it's the best time to use it. And if we just clog his hand with those, he's going to have to waste them, or not waste them necessarily, but use them later in the game. This lets us pull cards out of his deck that he can no longer search as well, because the 1-0 event only searches. He doesn't run the 1-1 event, or most people actually don't run the 1-1 event, which gets from the waiting room. So all these two here, all these cards right here too, which is like so spooky about leaving them on the board, is like this is no longer like discard fodder. This is no longer discard stuff for his gears, because I never bounced them to his hand, which makes these gears like a -1 for a hand fix, which is pretty bad. But of course, the Mikasa level 3 is still pretty powerful and can draw cards on play. So that's probably what we're gonna see here, if I remember correctly. We'll skip a little bit ahead here. So he's in a tough position. So yeah, he plays the 1-0 gear, and he's going to have to discard from his hand as well. So we kind of like hurt his hand to make the following turn too. If I live after this and then he lives again on my attack, then his hand is basically destroyed at that point, because he doesn't have a lot going on for it, because he's basically discarding 2 cards from his hand to get the Mikasa level 3, and then he is playing the Mikasa level 3, which actually refunds him a card, but it's a random card, so it's never always like a really, really powerful card. So we see here, he's going in. We'll skip ahead a little bit here. I think he's just looking for a third Mikasa. So he ends up picking up with the maneuver gear, picking up the level 3 healer Mikasa. So yeah, this is a scenario where he's basically has to somewhat all in, I guess is what you would say here, because he's already so far behind. So this is a really good situation to understand the rules. So because he is turn player and he has reversed my character, I have an effect that happens on reverse as well. Because he's turn player, his effect actually resolves before mine. So by knowing that rule, I force him to ask him if he's going to use his Mikasa effect, which in turn, you see, cancels off of that, but gives me the 1-0 Mari back, because the next card there was a level 2. Also denies him information on whether he's going to use the burn 1 or not. I'm not sure if that really matters that much, but it is just information you don't have to give away. Right. So this scenario right here, I wasn't too worried, because I actually my deck currently was 3 climaxes, and I believe it was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My deck currently is like 3 climaxes and 3 characters, so I'm not worried about dying here, because he swings in for 4 off of this Mikasa over here. I'm just kind of figuring if I want to mill his deck or not right now, because I do run the 2-1 counter, and I'm just thinking, do I want to save this or not? Which of course we ended up not doing. So we go ahead and we save the Yo off of this, and then top check to see. One thing about being at this low of a range of deck, so when we save the Yo with the con on here, my deck is so small that if I do move, like if I top check a level 3 off of it, I can move it to the bottom of my deck, and now I know where the level 3 is, so I can make it so my last attack is actually on that level 3, giving my Yo burn 3, which is pretty powerful. Just knowing how to manipulate your deck is really, really good. We'll skip a little bit of here. I'm just like counting cards, seeing what's left in my left in my deck. So there's the second yo. Top check here. In this case, I know you don't see it on camera right now, but I see a level. I believe it's a level 1. I see off of it here, a level 1 like ruby or something. And I'm just like, do I want to move this to the bottom and like possibly get a burn 1 off of it? Or I'm sorry, not burn 1, a different number, or just move this to the bottom and kind of like pray. This is a scenario too. So I wasn't keeping very good track during this game of my stock. Usually, most of the stock you kind of memorize when you get used to playing the game. You know exactly where the key cards are. You know at least what levels these cards are usually. The thing is here, I want to say it's this card or this card. I forget too. But one of these cards I know is a Climax, and I couldn't remember if this was a Climax or not, because I know I believe this top card here was the Yo level 3. I mean, we can go back and check, but it doesn't really matter. I just know for a fact that this isn't Yo, and I've already manipulated my deck from prior turns that I already know these last 2 cards are Climaxes, so having a third Yo out actually does nothing for me. The only like better card to play would be like Musashi, which is one of the cards I was looking for, but I ended up, when I counted what was left here, I knew there was a Musashi in the deck, and I just didn't know exactly where it is. I honestly, I should have figured it out by just looking at the deck from what I put on the bottom. But at the time, I just didn't really think about it that much. So yeah, I ended up paying out that stock because I thought it was a Climax. And if I ended up, not killing him this turn, I wanted the Climax to go back in, obviously. All right, let's skip ahead a little bit. So yeah, so then, whoops, kind of skipped there. But yeah, see, I was pretty aware that this level 3 was still in the deck. I just wasn't 100% sure because, like I said, I wasn't keeping super good track of my stock. I just knew that there was a Yo level 3 right here, and there was a Climax somewhere in here, and the other cards there, I remember there being like a level 1 Mario at one point, and like I think another level 0 or something. It's just I wasn't very clear of what was here. Normally, if the tournament was really, really important, you would spend a lot of time memorizing this. But luckily for me, I got a little bit lucky. Revealed a level 3, so I can get like off of 1 attack, I get 2 chances to kill my opponent, which does happen. One thing to note too about this is that, like I said earlier, I manipulated the deck earlier through card effects to put 2 Climaxes on the bottom of my deck. If this doesn't kill, and I go through his waiting room and everything after this, and it's very apparent to me. I know for a fact that this next card is a 2 soul trigger. It's the stock soul that I moved to the bottom earlier. I knew for a fact that if this doesn't kill him, I have 2 options here. Both are pretty powerful. So because I attacked here first, I made sure these would at least get removed out of the game after this, because he's not going to be able to 3-cost it. But the thing here is I could count his waiting room afterwards to confirm how many Climaxes are out and see what's left in the deck. And if there's still like 1 Climax missing in there, he has like a 2-card hand at this point. I'm pretty certain that the Climax isn't in his hand. It's most likely going to be in his deck. And if I know he's going to cancel off this last attack, I would just pass here and let him have another turn of attacks, because I have 2 Climaxes. Like I said, these are these last 2 cards are Climaxes for a fact. So having double cancel being at this point, he would have to attack with 3 Soul Beater. He most likely the following turn would either have to attack with this character last, or on one of these trigger one of the Thank You Climaxes, which is usually very unlikely to kill me from there. Just one thing I was thinking about too, if this turn didn't go out the way it did. But here, of course, it doesn't end him. So yeah, that's it for the commentary here. Hopefully you guys like it. I want to push more videos out like this in the future, especially if you're a Patreon supporter. Please get in hold of me. You can contact me on Discord, and if you have a recording of a match, as long as I can see everything, I don't have to necessarily see everyone's hands. But if I get the full board like this, I can do one of these videos, and we can set it up to be uploaded on the channel at some point as well. And we just discuss the video, and maybe we can have you on too, and we can just talk about your thought processes. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to do more of these soon. See you guys in the next video. Later. Before you go, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel if you do enjoy our content, as it does help us grow, and check out some of these social media links below.